All right, Ian.
Cristobal.
Dr. Ian J.
Bring it in for a landing. Come on, Chris. Not a real doctor.
Really?
Really. I just go by that.
Then why would you just giving me one of those testicle things in the other room?
Well, that was just for fun.
Oh, you said I was clear.
Well, your testicles are humongous.
Ian, tonight we watched it is Halloween season, right? It is the spooky month.
I've started watching horror shit nonstop.
Yep. And so we watched a classic, right?
Classic's
everybody
a
watch
word for it.
everybody watches this when Halloween. They go, "What do I want to watch?" They go, "I want to watch."
You got your Freddy Kruegers.
I got Friday the 13th. I got Nightmare on Elm Street. I got
The Ring is a pretty popular one.
I got Halloween. I got Humongous.
Gotta have Humongous.
Gotta have Humongous. You gotta have it.
It's loose, it's angry, and it's getting hungry. Humongous. God help us.
Ian, what's Humongous about?
Does it matter? I don't feel like I have a lot to say about this film. It's a pretty standard slasher of this era kind of a thing.
Is it? So
for the most part.
Actually, you know what? That's pretty interesting because I was looking up slashers for something else. But what I found is Wikipedia and the internet describes slashers as a genre in which the main antagonist, like Freddy, Jason, something happened to them that resulted in their creation. Meaning, like, you know, Jason was tormented as a youth because he was mutated. Kind of like your history, you know? Because you're fucking hideously ugly.
Yes.
And
I think you still have that element here with he is physically deformed because something his mom was raped.
yeah.
And you definitely have a very typical for this genre relationship with the mother, where he's very codependent on her. He doesn't really communicate with anybody but her. He's completely dependent on her. She's protective of him, but she thinks he's a freak and mistreats him.
Sorta.
I feel like I just described.
But that's all like
dozens of
exposition.
movies.
Like they didn't show you any of that.
No, but it's all implied and talked about and
Right.
deduced by the detective in the movie.
So the movie does open with a rape scene, more of a sexual assault. Although that's the problem. One of the problems I had with the movie
Yeah,
because it's unclear.
he certainly was attempted rape.
Yes.
There's no doubt about that.
Oh, there's no doubt.
And this took place 30 plus years before the main events of the movie.
Yep. 36 or something.
And I think the implication is that Humongous is the result of the rape.
So, based on the title, the cover artwork, because this is a VHS we watched.
Sure
what were you
is.
expecting from Humongous?
I was expecting a little bit more of a supernatural thing.
Yeah.
They talked about the fog rolling in.
Yeah.
So I was kind of thinking it was going to be vaguely like The Mist, something of that nature. To be fair, I didn't really read the box that closely. But yeah, this was more of your standard, like, especially late 70s to early 80s slashers, before the slashers really got into their heyday. This is like early proto-slasher.
It's slow.
Yeah, it's a slow-paced movie. There's nothing about this. There's a reason you haven't heard of this movie, and I'm assuming you haven't heard of this movie. There's nothing particularly special about it. Like, the writing is good, but not exceptional. The story is good, but not exceptional. The acting is good, but doesn't stand out in any particularly good way.
One thing I would say, at least for about the first half of the movie, is I think this movie could have been called Humongous, ; ass.
But as far as like this being a bad movie night movie, there wasn't even anything necessarily about it that was all that bad that made it stand out as a bad movie. Like I said, dialogue's pretty good.
Yeah.
Acting's pretty good.
It's all passable.
Writing's pretty good, but nothing was particularly exceptional either.
It was a
like even in terms of the tits and ass, I would say like if that's your jam, like if I picked this up in 1998, I was 14. If I went to Blockbuster, cruising the aisles, found this, oh cool, it's a cool horror movie, and
you
then
would
went home and
jerk
watched
yourself
it,
silly.
I would love this. It would be great.
All those tit scenes we wouldn't be able to watch because Ian would have ruined the
I'm just saying,
VHS
like,
tape.
as a 14-year-old boy, my access to this type of thing is limited.
But
like,
it is,
I'd be like, oh, this is great. I don't have to use the department store inserts with the pictures of the ladies in their bras. But like, now that it's 2017, even if you are a 14-year-old boy, like this just isn't.
Oh, nowadays,
like there's just so much more access to
14-year-old
other
boys
stuff.
are like, if there aren't 3 dicks going in a butthole, they're not interested
Well,
or something. But this is definitely like one of those movies that, okay, you know, Friday the 13th came out, Halloween came out. This is just one of those B-movie slashers lost in a sea of other
I wouldn't be
ones.
surprised if this came out because another studio was trying to cash in on
Sure.
that craze.
And the main downfalls of the movie for me were no real kills. That was what I
Not
wanted
much.
to
It
see.
wasn't as gore. Like, this whole movie would be rescued by some really good gore.
Cool kill scenes.
Like, it didn't need that to be a good movie, but because it wasn't particularly good in any other way, that would have been like, oh, this is fun!
That's what Friday the 13th has.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't need gore for a good horror movie of this type, but everything else needs to work better if I don't have the gore. The gore could have saved this.
I will say they tried, because they didn't reveal the monster right away. They tried to let some tension build. There was a scene where like one of the girls was out in the forest looking for berries or some shit, and she was being stalked. It didn't build any tension for me, but I at least understood what they were going for.
Yeah.
And so they didn't reveal the
You can
creature
definitely tell
right
the
away.
way they were kind of intentionally moving the camera in a way that it felt like a POV shot.
Yes. These are the kind of movies I feel like are prime for remaking. You don't need to
Yeah.
remake A Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th. Those
I
are
tend to
great
agree.
movies. You need to remake the ones that are like decent,
Yeah.
but not really.
But could have been much better.
Could have been much better. Yeah.
I lean towards agreeing with you for movies like this. However, the concept of this wasn't so strong that it needs revisiting either. Like you could.
What are you talking about?
You could.
Humongous. Humongous, Ian.
You could. It would be fine.
What do you think is so humongous on him?
Just he's 7 foot tall and long.
All right, so Ian, would you recommend Humongous?
No. I mean, we've definitely watched much worse movies.
Yeah. It's
Like,
competent.
I would rather watch a worse movie. You know what I mean?
It's just kind of boring.
It's like has this weird like uncanny valley type effect where it's like it's not good enough to be good, but it's certainly not bad. So why bother?
All right. Humongous. Well, we're gonna recreate it.
Why?
We're gonna remake it. It'll be a gay porno. No, I meant like you've never physically owned titties on your body. How would you know when they're big?
I've gotten a little fat.
I know, so do I. But I'm saying if I had like, I'd probably think these are some big titties, right? But then I wouldn't know what big titties are like. This is a hell of a way to start a video.
I hope you're not intending using it.
I'm not using this.